What's going on, everybody? So today we're talking about combat rating, and many of you who might have seen that some of the patch notes hinted to a combat rating change. Now, the English patch notes said nothing about it, but the Chinese patch notes said that they're going to reduce the effectiveness and try to increase the effectiveness of some other stats in the game. And so I got a bunch of combat rating here, and I actually dove into the stat menu here, and it basically tells you how effective combat rating is. And I noticed already from Health 6 that my power had significantly dropped. I didn't know if that was just the Health 6 kind of difficulty tuning or just the fact that they changed combat rating, but it turns out they reduced the effectiveness by half. So I'm gonna talk about this in the video. And before that, we have a sponsor for today's video. So today's sponsor is Bloodline Heroes of Lithis. This is a perfect game to play on the side. It's a hero collector RPG mobile game. When you're running your dungeons, this is a great game to play. It's got some of the most unique game mechanics in terms of the hybrid system, which I've never seen before. Before that, I want to talk about the free pack that you guys can receive right now if you click on the link in the description down below. Some free stamina potions, some gems, some gold, as well as we have the new limited time Lycan plan coming to the game and the hybrid system, as I mentioned earlier. And you're going to want to go ahead and download the game now to go ahead and pick up a free Golden Champion by participating in the Christmas event by December 22nd. You can see some of these guys behind me. They look sick and they do some massive damage, okay? On top of that, in this game, you're going to be able to collect a bunch of champions and build up your kingdom, but you can actually see you could actually combine some of these races, which you'll see behind me, hybrid champions. You see an orc with some wings. I mean, that is pretty sick and something I've never seen before. We also have the new Guild War. Basically group up with your guild members and dive into battle, and you're going to be able to go ahead and potentially receive a free Bloodcraft champion, you shall see behind me, which is absolutely amazing, completely for free. Not only that, but we also have a bunch of things to do, raising characters up, leveling up your kingdom, your characters, and all the different beautiful scenes. And click on the link in the description down below and receive a $20 pack, as I mentioned, the gems, stamina potions, and gold, and a free Lycan champion this Christmas, and I'll see you in game. Thank you, Bloodline, for sponsoring this video. Now let's talk about combat rating a little bit more. So with the recent update, they changed how combat rating works entirely, and the actual combat rating scaling on all the difficulties. You can see here, Hell 5 is 3705, Hell 4 is 2390, Hell 3 is 1550. All of these are reduced in requirement. Before, it was a lot more. Hell 5 was 5025, Hell 4, I believe, is in the 4200 range, Hell 3, I believe, is in the 3000s, and then Hell 2 is in the, I think 12, a little bit higher in the 1000s or maybe 2000s. I believe it was 1290 if I'm not mistaken, but I can't remember exactly what these earlier ones are. So you're going to notice that the difficulties are easier to acquire, which also means that you're going to have the surplus of combat rating needed very, very quickly. And that's important to recognize. Now, in Hell 6, you can see it's 6175. I can already do Hell 7. You can see I'm already in it, and I have the combat rating recommended for it. So I can actually do Hell 7 easily right now if I wanted to. But I need to get someone to unlock Hell 8 for me. But because I could do Hell 7, it gives us a good idea on how effective combat rating is. So if we click here on Health 6 and I click on combat rating, you can see the value of combat rating. Now, I've gone over all of this before, and I've told you all that combat rating is useless at a certain point. When you reach Hell 5, which was the previous cap in the game, and you get about 200 combat rating above your opponents, you'll notice that you cannot get any stronger from combat rating in PvE content. Therefore, if you do not care about PvP, combat rating is literally useless for you. You should not focus on combat rating at all unless you wanted to push challenge rifts, which in that case, you might want to keep your highest combat rating pieces in your stash and then just use your other pieces going throughout the game. Now, as you might have seen from that video as well, the numbers on here were doubled, okay? We're talking 22% damage increase and 18% damage decrease. This has been halved, which is crazy, crazy powerful. Now, what's also interesting is I've noticed that the high difficulty, when you do a challenge rift and you're running a challenge rift and you're trying to push hard, you'll see the little red triangle. And usually about when you reach that first red triangle is when you'll start to see that challenge rifts. That's like the maximum you can push. Once you start to get to that red triangle, that's usually when, wow, it's like super laggy right now. That's usually when you'll notice that the challenge rift is too hard to be able to do. Now, if I just load up 211 here, and I would just run this real quick, you'll see the red triangle, and I've noticed that the red triangle actually happens sooner, where you don't have to have that much combat rating difference between the enemies and yourself for you to get the red triangle. Now this basically means that, hey, this is very, very difficult for you to beat, and you're gonna have a hard time, right? This one's 400 combat rating above. Usually at around 400 combat rating is when I would activate this, or when that buff would pop up, but I've noticed that that pops up at around 300 combat rating. So it's hard for me to tell because I'm far above the combat rating, but from what I've experienced, the punishment for combat rating is even harder if you are lower than the required amount. Now, what's also interesting about this is if I were to move to health 7, we can get a better accurate estimate because I have about 9,000 combat rating and health 7 is 8930. So if I were to just open the combat rating menu and we can click on that, you can see I have 78 combat rating higher than our monsters, and I'm only increasing my damage dealt by 2% and decreasing it by 2%. So only about 70 combat rating or 78 combat rating above, and I'm barely getting any value for it. So you'll notice that combat rating is significantly less valuable. If I were to just hop back over to health 6, we could kind of find out where that benchmark is by removing some gear pieces. For example, I would just remove my chest piece here, which will remove an absolute buttload of combat rating. You can see here I am now 1967. So let's remove another piece here. We are now 1100 more higher. So let's go ahead and remove another piece. And now I am 357 higher. So you can see I'm not quite capped out yet. This is very important to notice, okay? This is very, very important to notice because we need to figure out how much combat rating we need above the opponents to actually get our maximum value. Before it was about 200. Now it's already 357 and you're still not capping out. So if you're just re-equip our pieces of gear here, and I would just remove some gems here. So let's remove some gems and let's see here. We are now at 1,000 above, so I'll go ahead and just remove some more gems so we can get an idealized combat rating here for my character. We are now at 700 combat rating higher, and we still are getting max value. So let's go ahead and try to remove some other pieces here. You see, I'll remove this piece. And we are now 236 higher, which is very interesting because we're only 6 and 5%. So now we have to readjust. I'm trying to find the correct combination of all of my legendary gems to get you guys the actual estimate here. 380. Let's go ahead and equip our Ball of Hope now. You can see we are now 8% and it's 500 higher. So let's go ahead and equip Bloodsoaked Jade. And now we're at 9%, we're 600 higher. And let's go ahead and equip Blessing of the Worthy. So we're at about 700 combat rating is where you're going to get maximum value for your combat rating in PvE content. But the diminishing returns are super, super high. Does that mean that combat rating is going to be useless in PvE once you get to that difficulty? I disagree. I still think that combat rating is going to be the most important thing until you've capped out on that bonuses. Until you've gotten the 10% maximum damage increase, still go for combat rating in PvE. And also it's nice because Challenge Rift challenges have gotten expanded, which means you'll always need them to get your gear upgrades and things like that, because we have about 300 new challenge rifts to do, or 100 new challenge rifts, which 300 total to do. So combat rating is always going to be useful to push those challenge rifts. But as for PvE content and making yourself stronger, you don't really get all that strong after you pass your difficulty. Again, it used to be double this. It used to be 22% versus that 10% that we're receiving now. So that big nerf is why a lot of us feel a lot weaker in PvE content. I mean, that's 22 versus 10% increase in damage, which we'll absolutely notice that. So basically, guys, focus in on your combat rating, get your combat rating. You're going to want to keep your high combat rating pieces to enter health 7 and things like that once you get there. But there really isn't a huge rush to start farming health 7 because, yeah, combat rating is nice and all, and yeah, you're going to get better stats. But to be honest, you're really not getting that much value unless you PvP. And in that case, again, you could still get the 10% damage increase / damage reduction for having 700 combat rating difference. And what's interesting about that is actually free-to-plays or low spenders can now close the gap a little bit, because before it was, if you have 200 combat rating less than your opponent, you're going to get maximum 10% damage reduction and damage. They're going to have 10% more damage reduction, right? So you could never close the gap on whales, ever, right? People are like, oh, go for more high combat rating because it's going to help you in PvP. But guess what? If you're fighting a whale, it will never help you in PvP because the 200 combat rating difference, you'll never be able to, close that gap. But with the recent changes, you actually can close the gap on some whales. And so that's actually an interesting topic, and it might be for another video. Let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. Do you think these are some good changes in the game? Again, just to give you guys another TLDR, 700 combat rating is going to be the kind of maximum soft cap of the value for combat rating. After that, you're not going to get anything for PvE, and that's really all you need to know about that. And you don't really need to focus on combat rating an insane amount post 700 above that specific rating. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.